Hey guys, Tony here, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made my very own fancy and pretty banana plug terminated speaker cables. So in this video I'm going to break everything down, all of the parts, equipment, and I will leave links in the description below to everything that I used in making these cables, so stay tuned. Righto guys, so to get into the video, what we're going to do is we're going to just discuss the two types of speaker wire that I've got here, just so that you can compare and see and make a choice before you go and buy yours. So what I've got here is some 16 gauge oxygen free speaker wire, which is basically the standard sort of cable that you would buy. It does look flat, it is marked with red so that you know which is positive, which one's negative. And what that does is gives you a fairly solid connection between your amps or your receiver and your speakers. Now, what that looks like when you do it in a cable with braided cable is it doesn't give it a round look. As you can see from this cable that I made up earlier, yeah, sure, it looks good. It looks better than a standard sort of cable if you compare it to that, but it's flat and doesn't have that round look. Now, the other thing as well is I just, because I wanted the ends to be sort of have a nice little bit of treatment. I mean, this is a test cable, like I had no intention of actually using this, but this was a test cable that I made. I had to put additional heat shrink around the tip of this so that it would actually not have the appearance of looking at that. So that's if you go with this type of cable, which is oxygen free, and I will leave links down below so that you can see what that is. Now, because we're making speaker cables, the assumption is that you have wall plates and that you're going to terminate, because I wouldn't want to be doing PET sleeving over several meters. For me, like anything around 1 meter to 1.5 meters, 2 meters maybe max, you might consider using the PET sleeving, anything where it can be visible. Mind you, mine is not really visible. It's behind my server rack, but I'll know it's there, so that's why I wanted to do it. And I went with 1 meter long cables. So that's if you use this. Now, what I actually ended up going with is I went with this cable. Now, it is shielded or sheathed, as you might call it, a speaker cable. It is 16 gauge as well, but the advantage of this is that because it's got the sheathing around it, it gives a round appearance when you make your cable. So to show you what's inside, I'm going to use this tool. Now, this is called an automatic wire cutter. And why it's automatic is you can set here, you can set sort of the tension and also the distance if you're, going to be doing the smaller cuts. And then you just basically pull it, and the pressure of it clamping down will actually separate and split. And it works really well. It's better than trying to use a standard sort of wire cutter where you put it in and then you've got to do this sort of action to carefully cut around it, and then you might actually split the cable underneath. So I use this to do the cutting and also just to do any pulls that I need. If it's hard to pull it off, you can just pull it like that and it will come off. But yes, this is an automatic wire cutter. I will put some links in the description to that. This thing saved me a lot of time. So to show you what that looks like, just in these cables here, what you do is you basically just put the cable in like so, and then you have to be quite firm with your action. You maybe just get a little bit of tension on it, but then you pull really hard like that. And then what that does is, as you can see there, it separates and gives you a very nice clean cut. And then all you have to do is just pull the sheathing off like that. As you can see from this specific cable, it's already got nice red and black covering, so it's optional whether or not you actually want to use colored heat shrink over that. I didn't for the cables that I made, because this is actually quite nice as it is. So the next step that you want to do is you want to measure, in my case is 1 meter, and just got my lazy Susan here just for help. Measure out 1 meter. You line it up with that mark. Give it a cut with the wire cutters, and then what you do is you go in 10 centimeters. So as you can see here, that's about there. I mean, you can be precise and you can mark, or later what I did is I actually used a piece of the leftover wire sheathing as my measurement. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to worry about that. Put your crimp in and pull. So what you want to do is, because you don't know what the elasticity is going to be like, you can't actually just take the ends, then measure and expect that when you thread it, that it's going to end where it needs to end. Starting with the ends, thread them through the hole as best as you can. Try not to fray the ends. It will happen, and that's what you use the heat shrink for. So basically from this point, you start pushing and pinching. So hold it here and you'll push and you'll see it bunch up. See it bunch there, you pinch there and then pull that way. And then you just keep repeating. So you pinch and then pull. Pinch and pull. And as you can see, it starts to thread. So what I'll do is I'll speed the camera up now so that you can see it done in time lapse. It only takes a few minutes per cable, but I'll speed it up anyway. So as you can see, I've reached the end. There's a little bit of play there. So generally what I like to do is just cut some of that off. And you should have that at the end. And obviously what you can do is at this point, you can feel where the end of your cable is. So it's around here. So just give it a cut. And then what you'll find is that there's quite a bit of slack in the cable, because the reason that you want to have that slack is to give it that nice ability to bend. If it's too tight, you'll find that the cable is really stiff and hard to bend. But you can see there, I've pretty much threaded that on. Now that we have the sleeving done on the cable, we want to talk about the heat shrink. You can buy this heat shrink very easily off eBay, Amazon, AliExpress. It only cost me, I think, $10 Australian, so it's pretty cheap. And you can go with the different widths. I bought the different widths because, again, you just don't know what you're going to get in terms of thickness with the PET sleeving and also with the heat shrink. Now, I like the black, and then what you can do at this point is just thread the heat shrink over the end. Now what I like to do, just to make things easier, is I like to thread this one just down there to the other side. So once it's over like that, push it past and then just pull it back up a little bit. So there you go, you've got your heat shrinks in place. So all that's left to do now is just work out the position that you want. So I generally go to the end and then just go up by about an inch. Like so. You can see if you put them next to each other, they're pretty close to where they need to be. So as you can see, I've got this heat gun here, and the next step is just to seal the end, because obviously you don't want things to come loose and come undone. But basically it only takes a minute, less than a minute, just to get that to shrink all the way around. And once you've done that, you can be pretty confident that your cable is made, in the sense that it's not going to, you know, fall apart, come apart. So I'll go and do that now. That's molded quite nicely to the end. So I'll just line them up again, still in the right position, and then I'll do this side as well. And there you go, guys, you've got your made cable now. So, being that I had a raw KRIX system, I made a joke in one of my previous videos about how branded banana plugs give you better SPL or something like that. Obviously I was kidding, but I wanted to, and I asked my supplier if he could get me the KRIX branded banana plugs. Now, they are a premium banana plug. They do cost substantially more than, say, these cheapy looking ones that you can get off Amazon. They both do the same thing and they work pretty much exactly the same way. The difference with these cheaper ones is that I noticed that the grub screw is not a grub screw, it's just a normal little screw. It doesn't bite onto the cable as well as these ones. Now this has 2 grub screws, which absolutely works better than just having a single grub screw like these cheap ones. I will leave some links in the description to Mick from Sydney HIFI in Mona Vale, where I got these ones. Thank you, Mick, for that. And I will also leave a link to these ones. Now, what you can do with these ones, I should add, with these banana plugs, if you so choose that you want to go and save a bit of money and buy these cheaper ones, is you can actually go over the banana plug with heat shrink all the way to the end like that. Now that actually works pretty well, and I have done that in a previous cable build that I did, and you can see it goes right to the end and you still have that slack there, so you can do it. That's an option for you as well. I'm not going to do it for this video, but that just shows you that you can do it. So obviously I'm going with the nice branded KRIX banana plugs to match my KRIX speakers, and I'll open them up. And you can see they're metal, they've got the alligator teeth in there. They feel really nice. They're like, everything just fits together really well. All right, so now that I've prepared my banana plugs, the thing is now to get this end of your cable so that you know exactly how far down to do it. So what I do normally, and what I've done, is I just put it in and put it to my thumb, and then using this tool, you'll see there's this black sliding piece here, and what that is a stopper. So what you can do is you push it up to the top like so. Now I have the distance that I need, so that when I just clip these now I don't have to measure. So I've popped it in, and then same as before, it grabs and then you pop it out like that. And there you have it. So now when I put, I will twist this cable, but once you put it in, you can see it goes right to the edge and you can't see any of the cable. So I'll just give it a little slight twist so it doesn't fray, and I'll do the same thing for the other cables. So you can put it in like so. Hold. I always do the bottom one first. Screw it to the end, and then do this one. If you can see, do it as tight as you possibly can, and you'll see it'll grab it, because it's grabbed it in two. That's pretty tight in there, it's not going to move. So do the same thing for the red one, push it all the way in, and then screw. Same on this side. I did it around the wrong way then, if you noticed. But there you go, pretty much the same thing. And now we have them terminated. So all that's left to do now is just to pop on. I generally get to there where it's sort of tense, then I hold it from this end, because you don't want to be holding the cable and twist the cable. So you hold it more from there and then just tighten it with your fingers. Same thing with the black one. Hold this end, so not the cable, so that you're not putting any stress and tension on the cable itself. You're just doing it there. And there you have it. You've got nice terminated end. So I'll quickly do the other side. And there you have it, guys. You have now got a nicely braided, covered, and banana plug terminated speaker cable. So as I mentioned, it's not going to improve the performance, but you know how much time this is going to save you if you're mucking around with cabling and doing your cabling. You're just popping them in, popping them out. It's really easy and convenient, as well as they look nice too. So I know personally, like when I look at the back of my rack, and you'll see in the video that I linked earlier, you'll see me plugging them all in. It just looks nice and finished. having them, as well as you can have a bit of fun with it as well. It just, that, you know, peace of mind that you've finished the job off nicely. Again, nothing wrong with just leaving, you know, bare cable and then just using the binding posts and popping them in. But I mean, for me personally, I just wanted to finish them off. And I did get a lot of questions from people asking from my last video how I did them. It is time consuming and it can seem daunting when you first start. But for me, it just didn't take, you know, more than a couple of hours to make all of the cables. And the more that you do, the faster that you get at it. You just need to be careful. Again, you in the beginning, you probably measure everything, but by the time I've made, I think 14 or 15 of these cables, I sort of know what I'm doing. I kind of, you know, you do things like set the stopper at the correct distance so you don't have to measure. And you can see they turned out perfect. You know, that's a meter long cable and it will fit quite nicely in my AV rack. So that about wraps up the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like button for me, as well as leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think and whether or not you're going to give this a go yourself. I've left links in the description below for pretty much everything that I use to make this cable, so do check that out if you're interested. Righto guys, again, a very huge thank you for watching. That's it for this one. You'll catch me in the next one. Bye for now.